want to talk today about the difference between grief and trauma, because I've seen this a lot recently with my clients. When someone dies, there's grief. You're sad, and it's really disorienting sometimes, and it takes you a long time to get back on your feet and get back into a new life without this person. Grieving is a process. Grieving takes time, and grieving takes support. And most deaths leave people with grief, and the grief healing process will resolve that. But sometimes there's trauma around a death. Sometimes that trauma is a kind of capital T trauma. They died in a traumatic way. There was just something really, really awful or overwhelming about it. That's trauma, but there are also what people call small t traumas. Sometimes your loved one was in pain at the end of their life, and you can't get that image out of your head. Or sometimes I've had people have what I call zipper trauma, where they cannot break the image of their loved one's body being zipped up inside a body bag and taken away. It's kind of fused in their psyche, and it was so much they couldn't absorb it. If you're having those kinds of flashbacks, images that won't go away, that tends more towards trauma than grief. And sometimes what you need is a trauma therapist. Someone who works holistically and somatically, maybe someone who does somatic experiencing or Hakomi, other kind of practices. If you've got those flashback images, if you're waking up with dreams, if it's just fused in your brain in a different way, grief therapy is not necessarily going to solve it, and time is not necessarily going to solve it. Trauma stays with us until we're able to process it out of our nervous system. So if you're struggling with something like that, don't look to grief work, look to trauma work, and I really think that will help.